Hi Year 5, welcome to Monday's history lesson. Today we're going to be investigating and interpreting historical sources, and we're going to be thinking about the decisions that people make based on their beliefs, and looking at a bit more detail in the Anglo-Saxons. So I thought, just to warm your brains up, I would give you a task to look at the 3 artifacts on the page, and I want you to see if you can sort them into their time period. So which of those artifacts, objects, is ancient Egyptian, which one looks like it's Roman, and which one looks like it's Anglo-Saxon. And you could think about which one you think is the odd one out and why. So pause the video, make a few notes, or talk to someone at home about that now. Okay, so I can let you know that the object, the first one, is actually an ancient Egyptian object. And some of you might have seen images like this when we've been studying ancient Egyptians just before Christmas. This one we should be a little bit familiar with now. It's the Anglo-Saxon helmet that was found at Sutton Hoo, which we're going to explore a bit more later this lesson. And this one is actually a Roman plate that was discovered in Roman Britain, so in about 410 AD, just before the Anglo-Saxon time period actually. And you might be thinking, which one was the odd one out? Well, there isn't really an odd one out. I was just interested to see what you could come up with. You could say that the plate is the odd one out because that's the only one that you would eat from. You could say, again, that the plate is the only odd one out because it's the only one not related to a human face. You could say that the statue is the odd one out because it's the only one perhaps that depicts a god, although there are some gods perhaps shown on the plate, and these look a little bit like they might be Roman gods because they had lots of different gods, didn't they? So it was just to get you thinking, really. Okay, let's carry on. So we want to explore these artifacts in a bit more detail today to find out a bit more about them. So where did these artifacts come from and why are they important? Well, the artifacts came from a place called Sutton Hoo. They were found buried, and it was the most impressive high status burial of the Anglo-Saxon time period. So we're going to explore this burial in a bit more detail, and if you want to explore it through some web links, there are 2 web links. Rather than clicking on them here, you can go to the Padlet overview and click on the links there. One of them you'll need Flash enabled, so if it doesn't work, see if you can enable Flash. I've taken some screenshots just to help us out. So basically, this was a burial that was, actually performed in the Anglo-Saxon time period, but the objects themselves weren't discovered. The burial wasn't uncovered until the summer of 1939. And it was discovered in Suffolk, which is a place out on the east coast of England. And archaeologists discovered a ship, a wooden ship, that was buried underneath a mound of earth in something called a barrow. And inside the chamber, inside the boat was a chamber with extraordinary treasures inside. So this diagram here just shows kind of the grave goods, the name for objects buried in a grave, that were discovered inside the ship. And the grave goods were so rich that they suggested that the burial was a king, and they suspect that it was King Redwald's. And the grave goods are really important because they actually show the different customs and beliefs of that person. So the fact that the objects were buried with the king suggests that he was a pagan. But some of the objects also have Christian designs and motifs on. So we can learn a lot about the person who was buried and that time period from those goods, which is what we're going to be looking at today. For instance, if we think about the helmet, perhaps that could suggest that the person was a great war leader. The shoulder clasp is actually Roman design. It's based on a Roman design. So that shows that perhaps this king was trying to mimic himself or trying to model himself as a Roman emperor. So somebody who wanted to be seen as powerful. Okay, now you're going to be historians. So what would help you to inform you about the chosen grave good? Because at the moment you haven't got a lot of information. How could you become an expert on that artifact? What skills do you need? Well, you could think about that for a minute, but I think you need the skills of being a good researcher. So we're going to explore the grave goods in a bit more detail. So on the following pages, you will find lots of information about the different grave goods. So this is kind of like a little recreation picture almost of what might have been buried inside the chamber. So you can click on the following pages and you can find some different information. Some of the pages just have this symbol, and that means that there's a link, and the links again you will find on Padlet. So have a little look out for those links. But some of these pages have got lots of information already there, so you can use that if you can't get onto the internet. So just remember that if you're being a good historian, you don't want to copy the words when you're making your notes. You want to try and put it in your own words. So if I just kind of model that a little bit, if we read this first part, so we're looking at the shoulder clasp, it says, "These curved gold shoulder clasps are feats of astonishing craftsmanship. Each one is made in 2 halves, which are hinged and fastened by a strong pin. Their weight and the rows of loops on the back suggest that they were attached to a thick garment made of wool or padded linen." So if I try and put some of those things in my own words, I'd have to think, oh, what's being said there? So I might say that it's made of curved gold. So I might write curved gold as my first bullet point. I might say that they are hinged, fastened with a pin. I might also say, rather than they were attached to a thick garment made of wool, it was used to hold together a piece of clothing made from wool or linen, because a garment is a piece of clothing, isn't it? So you might need to use a dictionary to check your understanding of some words, or talk to somebody at home about that. But it would be great to see your notes. Make notes on any of the objects that you like. You can make notes on all of them, or just the ones that you find the most interesting. Okay, good luck, and it would be great to see what you come up with, what you find out. You'll need these notes for next week, because we're going to be using them to think a little bit more about historians. Okay, bye.